The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple as the group of friends Emily, Jake, Sarah, and Tom set up their campsite deep within the dense woods of Black Hollow. The air was crisp and filled with the earthy scent of pine and damp soil. Laughter echoed as they pitched tents and gathered firewood, blissfully unaware of the darkness that lurked beyond the tree line. As night fell, they huddled around the crackling campfire, the flames casting flickering shadows that danced around them. Emily pulled out an old, tattered book she had found in her grandmother's attic, filled with local legends and ghost stories. With a mischievous grin, she began to read aloud, her voice low and eerie. Legend has it that the woods are haunted by a vengeful spirit, known as the guardian of the forest. It is said that the spirit protects the land from those who would harm it, punishing anyone who dares to tread with ill intentions. The group fell silent, their eyes glancing at the dark expanse of trees surrounding them. Tom scoffed, attempting to lighten the mood. "Come on, Emma, it's just a story. Ghosts are real." But Sarah, with her wide eyes reflecting the firelight, leaned in closer. "What if it is real? What if we've disturbed something? The forest is alive, you know." Jake rolled his eyes, but couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that crept into his gut. They continued their evening, sharing ghost stories and laughing. But as the night deepened, an unsettling chill settled over the campsite. Hours passed, and the fire dwindled to glowing embers. As the friends retreated to their tents, the woods seemed to come alive with whispers, a rustling that felt too deliberate. Too close, Emily fell asleep, but her dreams were haunted by visions of a tall, shadowy figure lurking just beyond the trees. Watching, suddenly, a loud crash shattered the stillness. Emily jolted awake, heart racing. She unzipped her tent and peered out into the inky blackness. The air was thick with tension, and the shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally. "Tom," she called softly, but there was no response. Panicking, she unzipped the tents of her friends one by one. Each tent was empty. "Guys, where are you?" A low growl echoed through the woods, sending shivers down her spine. She stumbled back, heart pounding in her chest, and that's when she saw a dark silhouette standing between the trees. Just beyond the reach of the firelight, it was too still, too silent, and it felt as if it were watching her. With terror gripping her, Emily turned and ran, her breath coming in sharp gasps. She burst into the clearing where the fire had once flickered, but the embers were cold and lifeless. She called out for her friends, her voice cracking with fear. Jake, Sarah, Tom. Rushing deeper into the woods, she stumbled through the underbrush, branches clawing at her skin, but the shadow followed, its presence a suffocating weight in the night. She could feel it drawing closer, a chill creeping into her bones. Finally, she spotted a familiar outlined figure crouched beside a tree. "Jake," she gasped, rushing to him, but as she reached him, she realized he was not moving. His eyes were wide, staring into the darkness, unseeing. "Emily," he whispered, voice trembling, "it's here." Before she could ask what he meant, the shadow manifested fully, a tall, gaunt figure with elongated limbs and hollow eyes that seemed to absorb the light. He radiated an aura of rage and sorrow, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the trees. "You disturbed my domain." Emily and Jake backed away, fear coursing through them. "What do you want?" Jake yelled, his voice cracking. "You carry guilt," the figure hissed, his voice like rustling leaves. "You disrespect the forest, and I will not allow it." Suddenly, memories flooded back to Emily, memories of their past, of careless nights spent drinking and laughing, of a time they had come here before and had left a fire unattended, leading to a small blaze that had marred a section of the forest. They had thought it was nothing, a funny story to tell, but now it felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. The guardian of the forest was not just a legend, it was a reckoning. "We didn't mean to hurt anyone," she cried, tears welling in her eyes. "We were young and foolish." The figure stepped closer, and that air grew colder. "Foolishness leads to destruction. You have taken from this land. Now you must face the consequences." In that moment, Sarah emerged from the shadows, her face pale and terrified. "I saw it too," she whispered. "I saw it watching us. It knows what we did." The figure regarded them with an intensity that made their skin crawl. "To survive, you must confront your guilt, speak your truth, or be lost to the darkness forever." In that moment, the friends realized they could not escape their past. They gathered together, trembling, and began to speak, sharing their fears, their regrets, the weight of their actions that had always loomed over them. They spoke of the fire, of the animals they had disturbed, of the laughter that had turned to shame. As they confessed, the air began to shift. The figure's expression softened, and the tension in the air lightened. "Only when you acknowledge your wrongs can you find peace," it murmured, And with that, the darkness around them began to recede. The guardian of the forest, once a figure of vengeance, transformed into something more ethereal, a protector rather than a punisher. You may leave, but remember this lesson. Respect the land, and it will protect you. With that, the figure faded into the shadows, leaving the friends shaken but alive. They stood in silence for a moment. The weight of their kill lifted, yet the memory of their encounter would haunt them forever. As dawn broke, they emerged from the woods, the sunlight bathing them in warmth. As dark contrast to the cold terror of the night, they vowed to honor the forest, to protect it, and to never forget the guardian who had made them confront their past. And though they left Black Hollow behind, they knew they would carry its legend with them, a reminder of the darkness that lurked not just in the woods, but within themselves. Write me a long story in a scary tone about a camping trip takes a sinister turn when a group of friends encounters a shadowy figure stalking them in the woods. As they try to escape, they discover that the figure is tied to an ancient legend of a vengeful spirit protecting the forest, and they must confront their own guilt to survive.